Hi everyone, it's Adiola. Welcome to my channel. So for today, I have a few disclaimers. Please watch the entire video before judging or leaving a comment. Also, I would like to reiterate the common knowledge that human beings don't automatically change their ideologies as they physically grow. As someone who grew up with many bigoted people, I promise you those that were prejudiced in elementary school only became more prejudiced as the years went by, but they tended to express their feelings in private rather than in public, as such is not publicly accepted. For someone to show change, it must be explicitly noted. This video is sponsored by Tin Can, a new app that lets you stream your voice. From singing to just talking, you can broadcast yourself live without showing your face. You can also live chat with listeners and receive monetary compensation via the redeemable virtual gifts that listeners can buy and send to you. How cool is that? I feel like this app is great for creators old and new, to be honest. You guys know a lot of my videos include narration, and Tin Can gives you the opportunity to talk without the hassle of having to set up or edit. Right now, I'm sitting comfortably in my bed in my PJs, and I love it. This is basically a live podcast, and the best part is that anyone can use Tin Can. As long as you have a voice, you can talk about anything. The app is currently free for download on the App Store. Make sure to follow me at Adiola so you can stay up to date on my posts and we can get to interact live too. So, I have some notes written down, but for the most part, this stream is going to be just from my consciousness. So sorry if I stumble on words sometimes, but yeah, I'm going to try and keep it as organized as possible. I know it's much different than my usually edited videos, but I really wanted to use the Tin Can app for this because I really like the freedom that it gives me to just talk. So, you guys already saw the title, so let's get into it. With BTS, I find it disturbing how anytime the group has done something problematic, instead of accepting it and trying to educate the boys, armies work day and night to silence and gaslight those who are concerned. There have been so many instances of blatant racism, colorism, cultural insensitivity, and overall bigotry that the majority of the fandom has refused to address. It appears to me that many would rather lie to cover up things and even claim that incidents had been apologized for, which isn't the case. I won't be going deep into detail about all of the issues in this video, but I know many of you have been requesting for me to do a compilation video since like last summer. Sorry I haven't gotten to that. It's been pretty overwhelming just looking up all the history and even discovering new things myself, not only about BTS but about other K-pop groups too. And new things just kept on happening. Honestly, I didn't even know how to catch up, but hopefully that video will be done by this month. So make sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss that. My thing with BTS is that all of these K-pop groups get away with these things unscathed, and such could literally never happen in the West. They only get away with it because they're based in South Korea. Like, I remember back when I was a believer, right? And videos surfaced of Justin Bieber saying he'll join the KKK and there'll be one less lonely N-word, saying run N-word run, and the media was on his neck. Literally everyone was calling him out for being racist, and it was headline news on national TV shows. Even if Justin wasn't sorry for what he said, he was being held accountable, and if he wanted to salvage his career, he really had no choice but to apologize. On top of that, his fandom never tried to bury this issue or harass Black fans for getting upset over it. We were allowed to be hurt, and the entire fandom called for an apology. When a K-pop idol has said the N-word in the past, they do not get the same reaction at all. First of all, Korean media does not care. To make things worse, the stands do their best to bury the issue and run off anyone that tries to confront it. They say all kinds of things. Oh, Oppa or Ani doesn't know any better. You guys just want to hate on them. Black people just want to be oppressed so bad. You guys are antis, yada, yada, yada. That's when things start getting ugly because people start throwing slurs at you, saying all kinds of racist and disgusting things in an attempt to make you feel like you're in the wrong, so you'll be quiet and back off. It's truly unfortunate that this is how most K-pop fandoms, especially the BTS army, handle things, because all that does is, instead of holding the idols accountable, people are just silenced, which makes them more upset, and the problem just continues to fester. When people do such, it is guaranteed that the problem will be repeatedly brought back up and will eventually cause some sort of controversy later down the line. You can only keep a boiling pot closed for so long before it explodes. On top of that, K-pop stans always love to use the excuse of education. I don't know why they think Koreans don't learn world history, that they don't learn about slavery or the Holocaust or world wars or basically anything that has happened outside of their border. South Korean education is top of the line, guys. And first and second of all, Korea has the fastest internet in the entire world. I just want you to picture that. The fastest internet in the entire world, on planet Earth, the fastest. Now, I want you to be logical. Think deep and hard. How do these idols have the resources to know how to appropriate, bastardize, and mock these other groups of people, but somehow they're incapable of knowing the history behind these things? How does that make sense? The reality is they know exactly what they're doing. Their companies know exactly what they're doing. Their peers and fellow Koreans know exactly what they're doing. Yet they continue to come out practically unbothered because nothing happens to them. There are no consequences. The United Nations already officially recognized South Korea for having a racism problem. I promise I'm not just pulling this out of anywhere. Again, I'll elaborate more on that in the upcoming video, but we're gonna keep going for now. Although the Western world does have its racist tendencies, Hollywood is very liberal on the surface level and doesn't approve of explicit racism the way K-pop idols get away with it. Like, just imagine Jewish people in Hollywood finding out that BTS did an official photo shoot at a Berlin Holocaust memorial, literally posing on victims' graves. Or that they did a photo shoot with one of the members wearing a hat with a literal Nazi swastika symbol on it. Like, come on now. Or that they had a performance with flags that strongly resembled that of Nazi Germany, that literally anyone could tell what they were going for. A rabbi literally denounced BTS, and that is when management started apologizing for these things. Mind you, I checked the official Big Hit statement, and they only apologized for the swastika hat and the flags. As for the genocide memorial photo shoot, it was quiet. No apology for that one. This statement was only made because these events resurfaced and stirred controversy with the group's rising fame. Big Hit took down those Holocaust memorial photos in January 2015 when the initial uproar occurred. So why wasn't an apology issued then? Why does it take new controversy to force you to apologize, a partial apology at that, all the way in November 2018? When the hat incident was in 2014, the grave photo shoot was in January 2015, and the flag incident was in 2017. It's very obvious that there wasn't much remorse, and they simply did this for the sake of damage control. And that's the problem. So many K-pop groups and their companies just use these cultures as they wish and offend racists. They don't care. They just use our lives and ways of expressing ourselves as monetary gain. In all honesty, it's disgusting. I mean, come on now. The Holocaust, like really, for a photo shoot? I find it really disappointing because I was made to believe that they had apologized for these events, only for me to go and actually read the real apology and realize this was not the case. So what do we got here, guys? Y'all are anti-Black, anti-Semitic, completely insensitive to Native Americans. So what's next? Are we as fans just expected to sit around and wait for the next controversy? Also, I hate when they play dumb. Big Hit explicitly said that the flags were used to symbolize totalitarianism. So they know what those flags alluded to. They just couldn't care less. They're not sorry that they did it. They're sorry that they got caught and put on blast by official leaders. This is why I have such an issue with fans trying to deflect what happens with these K-pop idols onto other people. They always say, oh, it was the stylist's fault, the photo shoot director's fault, the manager's fault, anyone but the artists themselves. If I went to a foreign country, I wouldn't just pose on any public statue I saw. I feel like that's common sense, to be honest. If I can't read the signs because they're in a different language, search engines exist for a reason. Why would you assume it's okay to just take photos anywhere when important statues, memorials, and art displays exist across the globe? How would they feel if some white boy band went to Korea and did a photo shoot at the Seoul Ferry Tragedy Memorial and said, "Oh, sorry, we didn't know what it was. We just saw this random structure and decided to pose on it for the use of our official content photos." Like, who would buy that? You're not fooling anyone. Literally, no one would be okay with that. It's so incredibly insensitive, but these K-pop idols get away with it. They get away with such all the time. Because the Korean fans aren't going to hold them accountable because they could care less, and the foreign fans are too busy moving with the crowd like lemmings. And it's awful. I also really, I despise when people say K-pop idols have no choice in these decisions. You think if BTS said, "No, we're not going to do a photo shoot at a cemetery posing on the graves of victims from a literal genocide," that they would be fired? That their contracts would be broken? Big Hit's gonna say, "Fine, if you guys don't want to shoot here, we'll just find 7 new men to replace you and train all over again," even though you've already debuted, released multiple albums, went on tour, have a solid fan base. It's the same thing with all these other groups. Fine, maybe if you're a trainee or a brand spanking new group, I understand because you barely have any leverage at that point. But if these established groups were to band together, the company isn't going to disband the whole group over something as easily changeable as a photo shoot location or a hairstyle or a clothing piece that could deeply hurt millions of people. These entertainment companies aren't just going to throw away these whole groups that they've invested millions of dollars into. But of course that doesn't happen, and you know why? It's because the idols themselves don't care either, and that's another problem. It's not good when fans try to hold these people accountable and others silence them. No change will come that way. We ourselves, we know that there's practically a cultural insensitivity issue in K-pop almost like multiple times a week. This is it's like protocol at this point. You wake up, you know someone has done something, and people will scream, make a fuss, keep on moving. In a few more days, it's gonna be somebody else. I'm not seeing any growth. They just keep doing the same thing they've been doing for decades. Keep on hurting people, potentially damaging their reputation when certain people hear of it. But how are they gonna change? These idols don't have diverse friend groups or people around them in general to teach them to think any differently. They're hanging with the same people, consuming the same content, the same media, but somehow people expect them to magically change and grow without any kind of push. That's not going to happen. When something happens that's bad, let us accept that it's messed up instead of trying to bury it so these kids can learn. Yeah, South Korea has an issue with colorism and casual racism towards so many groups, especially Black people. It's normalized. But they simultaneously love consuming our culture and using it for their own personal gain. I've noticed that a lot of other fandoms are getting better when it comes to mobilizing to handle these issues. For example, when NCT 127 had the appropriation issue in their comeback videos, even with one of them sporting a Confederate flag t-shirt, the N-citizens, they were emailing SM Entertainment and blowing up the stylist DMs. They didn't try and deflect like I've seen many armies do. I remember when J-Hope came out with his CNS, gel, lock, twist, whatever you want to call it, and it was a literal war. The majority of the fandom was doing everything to silence anyone that was calling out the obvious cultural appropriation. Some people made a petition to send to Big Hit to get an apology from J-Hope, and people were fighting that too. When I personally spoke up on it, people were telling me to end my life in various ways, throwing all kinds of vile slurs at me and other racist things to harass me. Some were spewing pure nonsense, Some were spewing pure nonsense, saying things like speaking English and dancing were appropriation too. And I was just like, so many of these arguments were so daft and just made it so clear how a lot of other people do not understand the concept of cultural appropriation at all, which is why you shouldn't speak on it. But Lord knows people speak on things they know nothing about, especially in K-pop. I made an entire video to break down what cultural appropriation was and why it's been such a long-going problem for K-pop groups, including BTS. You can't compare appropriating a hairstyle for your little hip-hop stage to wear as your gangster costume to language being forced upon the world via colonization or the consensual cultural exchange of certain dances. It's simply not the same. This brings me back to the imaginary apology armies like to claim Namjoon made. This man only explicitly addressed his misuse of the phrase West Side Till I Die. Everything else went unchecked. None of the other incidents were accounted for, from Namjoon disgustingly making colorist remarks towards Taeyoung and Hoseok, saying they were so black that he couldn't see them in the dark, to Jimin calling Jungkook a derogatory colorist term that translates to blackie, to Yoongi and Namjoon mocking Native American names, to Namjoon straight up comparing JK to a racist black Korean caricature. The list literally goes on and on and on. And these things have never been addressed. How is it that their cultural insensitivity towards black people in particular has been handled according to armies, but we're still having repeats of the exact same issue in brand spanking new 2019? Please tell me how that is possible if they have learned from their mistakes, like many armies claim. When you're sorry for something and you understand why it's bad, you don't do it again. Mind you, this isn't the first repeat of this appropriation issue since the alleged apology. This is just the most recent incident. If BTS had learned from their past issues, J-Hope's CNS hair would not have happened. I want you to repeat that. If BTS had learned from their past issues, J-Hope's CNS hair would not, I repeat, would not have happened. It would have been impossible. Obviously, the message that we've been trying to get across and screaming about for so many years is not being addressed. And that's by choice. The same controversy after controversy after controversy happens with these K-pop groups, with all of them doing the same nonsense, yet they don't stop. This is intentional, and I want you all to realize that. A real apology is when you say, yes, I did A, B, C, and D, and I admit that I was prejudiced and I had these ideologies back then, and this is what I have learned that has changed my perspective, and I'm sorry for those I've hurt. Not those that I may have hurt, those that I did hurt. A, B, C, and D will not be repeated in any way, shape, or form. I sincerely apologize. That is how you make an apology. You explicitly acknowledge what exactly was done wrong and what you've done to change to ensure that this will not happen again. If this isn't done, it's easy for the same issue to be repeated because we don't even know what the other person is sorry for. They might not even understand why we're hurt. They might just be talking to calm us down, to be honest. People have asked me why I have not unstanned BTS and K-pop altogether if I find their practices so problematic. Here's the thing. I consume BTS as a unit. I'm not here for Namjoon or Jin or any other individual in the group. I'm here to enjoy them as one. A lot of people that I've seen on Stan, it was either due to the racism and cultural insensitivity done on BTS's part that the fandom refuses to acknowledge their music or the fandom in general. I will expand on the first reason shortly, but as for the music, I personally did not really like Map of the Soul 7. Many other people that I've spoken to also felt the same way. My Time was the only new track I was remotely drawn to, and a few others have grown on me since then, but The truth is, BTS has changed their sound a lot, and many feel that it's been downhill since Tear. They went from a hip-hop heavy sound to this pop EDM, watered-down R&B kind of vibe. Personally, I liked songs from Persona and some from Love Yourself Her. It's just that 7 that really turned me off. But I'm hoping that I'll like the next comeback's music better. They said they're already preparing their next album. I'm hoping they'll lay off the autotune this time and do some of their older style music if possible. As for the social issues, a lot of them I did not catch in the moment that they were happening. So it's actually been pretty jarring to be finding out new things way after the fact. The fandom has done a pretty good job of burying all of these incidents. It's straight up censorship, to be honest. If I had known about all of these issues the moment they happened, I promise you I would have unstanned immediately. The only reason I'm still here is because my friend managed to convince me to stay in the fandom, and I'm also hopeful that change can come. I know that a lot of armies try to run off armies that are people of color, and honestly, I'm low-key here. I'm low-key just staying here to represent. Like, you're not gonna push me out of enjoying something I like, and I'm also not just gonna let these people just be disrespectful and not hear about it. I'm not just gonna leave, you know? I admit that I have distanced myself a lot from the group naturally over time because of my feelings, what I've experienced. I spend less money on things, I consume less content. I'm not interested in learning Korean from BTS for the sake of big hit mining my data from Weavers. I watch some of the run episodes. I do watch their movies and some of their programs. I stopped watching Bon Voyage because I couldn't handle the colorist comments they made anymore, to be honest. And I did buy the army membership for the sake of getting tickets, but I barely tried deciphering whatever the army zip is. So for the most part, I'm here for the music and their personalities because they make me feel good. A lot of people have come to me and told me they're grateful that I talk about these things because they're too scared to due to backlash. People have told me they've unstand because of the social issues and more. As the influence of K-pop grows, I hope change can happen and fans can continue to encourage that change for the sake of a better community. I'm not saying you have to go full Martin Luther King, but a little activism helps. A lot. Maybe in a few years, Asia will be more sensitive to foreigners. Maybe you won't have to be scared of going to South Korea because people are going to discriminate you because people are going to discriminate against you because your skin is dark. Maybe Black people won't be getting racially targeted in China on the basis of coronavirus, getting beaten on the streets, Rodney King style, while the world watches. I know that may seem like a reach, but insensitivity and prejudice manifest in so many different ways, and even the littlest change can have a ripple effect. As for the army fandom, a lot of people are like, why would you unstand a group because of the fandom, right? In reality, being part of a fandom is such a big part of your experience standing someone. Whether people want to admit it or not, if that experience isn't serving you, why would you continue? I remember when I was in other fandoms, it was so much fun. We would teach each other how to edit, we would exchange memes, get excited over music and content together, make online friends, and more. The fandom experience really affects how you consume the artist and can make or break your experience as a fan. It's so much less fun standing alone versus standing with other people in today's age. We're all connected digitally and we consume this content virtually, so how do you separate yourself from the online fandom? I would say Twitter is the worst platform for when it comes to toxic armies, with YouTube and Instagram armies being a little better because of the lack of quick interactions and ability to harass people. Armies on Twitter are doxing and suspending anyone that even breathes the wrong way. They move like a cult. Even the slightest dissent from the groupthink will have you silenced. They're really on some 1984 George Orwell thought police Big Brother-ish, and I'm not with it at all. I'm an individual and I will have my opinions. Instagram and YouTube armies, on the other hand, are just enjoying their videos and memes, leaving comments, maybe fighting in the comment section every now and then, and continuing on with their day. Twitter allows fast distribution of information, so it's a blessing and a curse. You get fresh news, fresh content, fresh memes. But you could also wake up to hundreds of strangers dogpiling you with harassment the next morning, throwing all kinds of slurs your way because they misinterpreted a tweet you made in passing about Namjoon. Back to my personal take on things, BTS brings me joy as a unit despite what they've all done individually. I enjoy the music, and I enjoy their content, and I only stand BTS for my own enjoyment. I have passed the stage in my life where I blindly support strangers with my energy solely because I like them and feel some sort of obligation to do so. That part of me died with Justin Bieber, and the nail in the coffin was James Franco. BTS is a product, and as a consumer, the moment that product stops fulfilling my needs, I will no longer be paying for that product with my time nor money. This is BTS's job, and we are paying them for a service. If what I want is not being provided, I will kindly bow out. I have no allegiance to these men that know absolutely nothing of my existence. I am a grown woman with my own life to live. I do not wish to worship strangers if they are adding nothing to my life. So until the day BTS stops making me happy, I'll be here. I already had a plethora of racist and colorist experiences way before ever standing BTS, so that part isn't new to me. I'm not shook. I never expected the fandom to react to me as they have, but after seeing what went down when I spoke on J-Hope, there is very little that can faze me at this point. So unfortunately for the rest of the army, they'll never be able to silence me. I will keep speaking up when I see wayward behavior, and they can take it as they please. But like I said, until I stop standing BTS, I will never stop speaking myself. You can best believe that. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos on BTS and K-pop because I'm going to keep it rolling. I will talk to you guys later, and thanks so much for watching. Bye.